Hi, I am Nima and this is the Nomadistan channel. This mask you see on my face is part of the traditional clothing of women in southern Iran. I'll take it off in a moment, but first I have a simple yet challenging question. Should women really work in society exactly like men do? Does a healthy relationship need equal power between men and women? Was the traditional view of male and female roles completely wrong? The answer is no. But why? Let's explore the reasons through history, psychology, and modern human experience.
In the Paleolithic era, around 10 to 12,000 years ago, humans lived in small groups of 20 to 50 people as hunter-gatherers. Men would hunt large animals, and women, in addition to caring for children, gathered food like fruits, roots, and similar things. According to research by people like Sarah Blefaherdy, evolutionary anthropologist and author of The Woman That Never Evolved, women provided about 70 to 80% of the group's daily calories. Men and women had equal standing, and decisions were made collectively. At that time, there was no such thing as ownership. Land, animals, or people weren't considered private property. But with the rise of agriculture around 10,000 years ago, especially in the Fertile Crescent, modern-day Mesopotamia, everything changed. Land became valuable, and with that came the need for ownership and protection. That's when men's physical strengths became important, not just for hunting but for defending land, livestock, and even women. Since property had to be passed down from father to child, certainty of lineage became a priority. And what was the result? Control over women's bodies and sexuality. Historians like Gerda Lerner, in her book The Creation of Patriarchy, described this as the historical moment when the patriarchal system was born. This structure lasted for centuries, from ancient times to the Middle Ages, even into the Age of Enlightenment. But things changed again with the Industrial Revolution. During the 18th and 19th centuries, factories grew and needed cheap labor. Women entered the workforce, mostly in textiles and services, and for the first time they had independent income. World War I and especially World War II accelerated this process. With men going to war, women had to take their place in industry, driving trucks, welding, and doing other hard jobs. According to social historian Rosalind Rosenberg, this era marked the beginning of the modern woman's liberation. After the war, governments and media tried to push women back into the home, but women had tasted independence, and they weren't willing to return to the past.
You've no idea how much I've got to do. Remember, I haven't got your dream kitchen to make things easier.
This whole kitchen was designed for efficiency and convenience.
This is when different waves of feminism began. The first wave, 19th and early 20th century, focused on basic rights, voting, education, and property. The second wave, 1960s and 70s, focused on reproductive rights, work rights, and breaking gender stereotypes. The third wave highlighted identity diversity and criticized dominant white, middle-class male norms. But the fourth wave, which we see today, according to critics like Christina Hoff Sommers, has in some cases gone as far as denying the existence of gender or natural differences between men and women. In this context, Simone de Beauvoir's famous quote, "One is not born a woman, but rather becomes one," became a central idea in feminist thought. It means that womanhood is not purely biological, but shaped by society and culture.
I insist that what it is to be a woman, or indeed what it is to be a man or any other gender, is an open-ended question. We have a whole range of differences, biological in nature, so I don't deny them. But I don't think they determine who we are in some sort of final way. At the heart of these controversies is the distinction between sex and gender. But what is that distinction? How do we think about it? Sex is generally a category that is assigned to infants that has importance within medical and legal worlds. Gender is a mix of cultural norms, historical formations, family influence, psychic realities, desires and wishes, and we have a say in that.
This is Ari, Gwendolyn and Brynnifer. They are in a polyamorous relationship, and they all parent Hazel and Sparrow.
We have a 2-year-old anti-gender baby and a 10-year-old who is non-binary.
They have chosen not to disclose Sparrow's gender.
We don't know it yet. It's something that Sparrow's going to have to figure out and then tell us.
But their parenting approach is controversial.
I have literally received death threats. Crazy, crazy lady. I hope karma hits you back and your kids grow up to detest you.
These polyamorous parents let their children choose their gender. And for their oldest child, Hazel, that's neither male nor female.
Please tell us how and why you decided to come out as non-binary.
Because the pronouns she and he did not fit. Non-binary was what I turned to, though I do choose to act and look more feminine. Can I go down now?
Of course.
And 2.5-year-old Sparrow has yet to make a choice about their gender.
Sparrow, do you want a banana?
They're anti-gender, but we're using they, them pronouns. Sure, they have anatomy, we understand it, but that's not indicative of their identity. It's something that Sparrow's gonna have to figure out and then tell us before we can tell anyone else.
Particularly because it's, something that our parents did and they got it wrong.
Gender is a personal identity. Basically, almost everyone on this planet are assigned a gender when we're young. And for most people, that identity assignment works well enough, and they find how to make it their own. For those of us who are transgender, that assignment, it was too radically different from what we felt we needed to express ourselves. And that definitely has influenced my views and opinions about gender. At the end of the day, what I think it is something that people get to decide on what it means to them, what it is, and how they express it.
The traditional woman, even if she lived with limitations, at least knew who she was. She had a clear identity. Her role was known. Society's expectations were clear to her. But today's woman often lives between two worlds. On one side, traditional expectations still exist. Be a good wife, a loving mother, a loyal partner. On the other side, she must be independent, strong, working, competing like men, building like men.
According to Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, Jungian psychoanalyst, this psychological gap can lead to what she calls psychic tearing, because every day the woman is forced to live using an energy that doesn't match her natural inner essence.
A woman naturally has feminine energy, caring, connection, softness, acceptance. But now she has to live much of her life with masculine energy. Competition, decisiveness, pressure, constant action.
Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychoanalyst, talked about two inner forces, anima feminine aspect and animus masculine aspect. He said every human being has both inside, but when a woman becomes overly involved in masculine roles, her inner animus becomes overactive. She's no longer just a woman, she becomes a warrior, always in competition mode. And this woman often ends up emotionally exhausted, with inner aggression, uncontrolled anger, and emotional distance from her partner and children.
The modern woman feels lost. She is no longer the traditional woman who took pride in raising children at home, but she also can't fully identify with the male-dominated world. Sometimes she feels like she doesn't belong anywhere, and that is the most painful kind of loneliness, loss of identity. This is where I ask, has this progress really set us free? Or has it simply cut us off from our roots and thrown us into a race that was never made for us? When a woman slowly identifies with her inner animus, her feminine role fades into the background. It's not that she is no longer a mother or a wife, she still is, but not with feminine energy. Let's look more closely. What exactly is animus?
Jung says animus is the masculine energy within a woman's psyche. Logical, critical, structured, aggressive, goal-oriented, competitive. If this energy is balanced, it can empower a woman. But when it becomes excessive, when a woman constantly takes on roles of control, analysis, and battle, she hardens from the inside. She becomes distant, first from herself, then from others.
When a woman leads a relationship with animus energy, the man in front of her reacts in two main ways. He either enters a power struggle, becomes aggressive, stubborn, distant, or he gives up, withdraws, shuts down, becomes a passive man. The result? Love turns into a battleground. There is no more trust or peace, only an endless duel between a dominant woman and a withdrawn or angry man.
In a home where the mother constantly lives in masculine energy, the damage to the child is deep, almost like a permanent injury. Human personality forms mostly between ages 3 and 7. Our sense of self and the world takes shape then. At this stage, the child needs unconditional love to build the belief that they are good, lovable, and worthy. That belief is what we call self-esteem.
Self-esteem is the foundation of most psychological issues, and the key to mental health, peace, and life satisfaction. Here the mother's feminine energy, love, empathy, and tenderness plays the main role. Of course, fathers are equally important, but usually through their masculine traits, support, and protection.
But an animus-driven woman who's put love aside in order to compete and fight creates a huge emotional void in the child, a hole like a deep well in their soul. And according to the experience of many psychologists, this kind of wound is rarely ever healed, and effects don't stop there. The daughter learns that to be valued, she has to be strong and unemotional. The son learns that woman means commander, means controller, and that man means someone who must step back or fight, not someone who walks alongside a woman as a partner. But perhaps the first victim is the woman herself, because the animus-driven woman, though powerful, is often deeply lonely. At night in bed when the lights are low, she feels she has no one, because the person she should lean on, she's in competition with. No hand remains for her, no shoulder, no kindness, not even a memory of what kindness used to feel like.
And here a painful question arises. Was it worth it? Is power without love, without connection, without peace really victory?
When a woman stops being a woman and steps into a man's role, the man too begins to shift. Every action has a psychological reaction. In Jungian psychology, men also have an inner force from the opposite gender. That's called anima, the feminine part of a man's psyche, emotion, intuition, imagination, connection. But this anima, if unbalanced, can also cause disorder in a man. Then the man is no longer decisive or structured. He's no longer a man of action, not a protector, not a fighter. He becomes a man who breaks down at the first failure. He becomes dependent, unmotivated, lacks charisma, or obeys a woman, not out of love, but out of fear and passivity.
You might say, well, what's wrong with a soft man? Nothing. But that softness must come from a healthy masculine identity. Not from weakness, not from retreat, not from fear of being humiliated or rejected by a woman.
Many women feel like they've become mothers to their partner, not wives, because their man behaves like a child, unable to make decisions, unable to be a pillar, or puts everything on the woman's shoulders. That man is stuck in his anima energy. A man trapped in anima lives in passivity. He can't fight for his rights in society. He can't succeed in work and competition. He can't powerfully protect his partner and children, and he even loses his sexual attraction for the woman.
So repressing masculine energy in a world that demands strength and resilience can be disastrous.
On the other hand, some men fight back against this role reversal. They become violent, aggressive, or develop misogynistic views. Why? Because they feel threatened. Their traditional role is gone and nothing healthy has replaced it. A man who loses his role either becomes passive or aggressive.
Both extremes, anime-dominated men and animist-dominated women, destroy something essential: the natural polarity between man and woman. That deep magnetic attraction, not based on dominance, not based on need, but based on complementarity.
When both people know their true roles, not based on stereotypes, but on conscious understanding of their natural essence, then love, respect and balance can return.
Now it's time to ask a big question. Should women return to the home? Should men become the boss again? No, we are not looking to go backward. We are looking for balance.
A woman can be a manager, a leader, an artist, a researcher, but if she disconnects from her feminine energy, whether she's running a country or a company, she will end up feeling empty inside, because that energy is the core of her psyche. Care, intuition, flexibility, acceptance, connection. These are the forces that soften today's harsh world and bring balance to families and to workplaces. Using our natural abilities consciously makes us more successful people.
Women, by understanding their inner energies, can consciously allow men to feel powerful. And by power, I don't mean dominance or control. I mean strength and capability. Because if you want to lean on him, let him feel a healthy sense of strength.
A healthy modern woman doesn't surrender and doesn't become a man. She has power and influence, but with grace and softness. She's like a woman who understands the storm, but doesn't become the storm. She can make tough decisions at work and still be kind at home. Not because she's pretending, but because she knows herself. She's connected to herself. The modern man must also rebuild his inner strength, not through control, not through force, but through presence, through wisdom, through being a supporter, a man who can love his child and still be the pillar of the home, a man who understands a woman's emotions but stays grounded in who he is.
We need a neo-modern definition of man and woman, a definition that comes from psychology, biology, human history, and honest intuition. Being a woman means connection, not domination. Being a man means protection, not control. A relationship means dialogue, not rivalry. And all of this is only possible when each of us first makes peace with ourselves.